Welcome, everyone. I am happy to say we are back from summer vacation, although a bit of impromptu, but we're happy to be back from summer vacation with the next episode of Forgotten Table Tales. We have been on a bit of a hiatus this last couple of months. This last few weeks, I mean. It has been a month, but oh my god, my brain is so fried from I haven't done this in so long, my brain's fried. But we haven't been
Also,
slacking.
yeah, uh, we've just been kind of chilling out in the sun, and now that the sun is heading down, the hurricanes are hitting Florida, and it's getting up to spooky season. We figured we'd tackle a bit more of a spooky book.
Right, but not just any spooky book. Now, if you were not here in the last video, which admittedly maybe not, you probably didn't see it. That's okay. There has been a lot of stuff that's happened in tabletop RPGs since we last recorded an episode. And I'm happy to say that the one major thing that has come up in the last few months has been the release of one of the most anticipated 5th edition books that we have seen in a long time. This book has been credited as one of the biggest crowdfunding successes, where it got all of its budget within 24 hours and then just blasted through all of its stretch goals within a couple of weeks. I think it probably it was a blowout. But the other thing to understand is that this is actually from the third biggest YouTube centric D&D YouTube page out there, and that's from Legends of Advantis, which I
Yeah,
think.
so
Mhm.
it was funny that you mentioned how it's like, oh man, it blasts through its goals, and it's like, no, this isn't Critical Role either.
Right. I would expect this to have been like, if this had been like Critical Role or Dimension 20, which Brendan Lee Mulligan is the DM for, I wouldn't say that was a bit of a shock. But Legends of Advantis is actually a very odd YouTube channel. And I don't mean that odd in a bad way. I mean odd in a great way. Because they're more like a comedy troupe that plays D&D rather than a gaming company that plays D&D. Like Critical Role kind of does the same thing, and so does Dimension 20, but they're telling stories. These guys are just pure jokes.
Yeah, like for example, for their Witchlight series,
Mhm.
typically recommended, the entire campaign, for Witchlight is generally between 4 to 20 hours. It took them 19 episodes to leave the starting carnival area.
And you've probably, I'll be honest, as someone who hasn't seen Legends of Advantis, I've never seen them play a session. I've known them exclusively from their shorts, but they have the funniest characters. Of course, we're talking about characters like Gideon the Tiefling, Chuckles the Clown, Torbeck, Bitsy the Mouse. They're like, you cannot see D&D shorts without seeing Legends of Advantis, and I bring all that up because while they are a bunch of chuckle fucks in the best way possible, we love them here. We love those guys. We love them to death. Um, well, I'm just gonna say it. The book they made is really fucking dark.
They nailed it, like, genuinely,
Mhm.
the tone-wise, they're very good at it. They're very good at making a dark-seeming book, and I'm just gonna come out and say this, I don't think WotC would have released a book like this. I don't think WotC personally would have gone to the effort that they did, and it's amazing that it's on D&D Beyond at all, and yeah, I just genuinely believe um that WotC would not have released something like this for a horror thing.
You know what? I want to take that another step forward because I think this is actually my take on it. I think they would have, but you know what they would have done with this book? They would have made it one of those Magic the Gathering crossover books like Strixhaven or Theros or Ravnica. This would have been the Innistrad book if they had gone that route, which I would think would be fine, but I don't think we would have nearly gotten as much content in this book. In fact, folks, before we even get into started, before we even get into our topic of this show, of this book, I'm going to show you the cover art. This is the Legends of Advantis cover art for the Crooked Moon. Iconography that you are seeing right here is pure folk horror in the best way possible. And I think it's like this screams Innistrad on a base level from someone who plays Magic the Gathering and who has been around since that set came out. I know this. This is something that you would see on Innistrad, but it ain't Innistrad, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to say this for the campaign specifically, if if my character were to die on Innistrad, I would want to make my replica character go into Innistrad without a subclass and then come out with one of these. I would ask you for like some one-on-one like session time so that we could make the backstory fit because these are insane.
Exactly. And that's going to be our main topic. We normally wait a little bit to go into the subclasses for when we do book reviews, obviously. But given the fact that we've been a little bit on a hiatus due to summer vacation and haven't had a whole lot of time to read the massive amount of backstory, lore, game mechanics, and all of that that have popped up in books, we're going to dive into our forte. We're going to dive into the subclasses right away because we got some really good ones to showcase. So first thing
Oh yes.
before we go into the subclasses proper, we're going to talk about a section called the theme and subclasses of the Crooked Moon. Which, by the way, I'm just going to say that you can't see the artwork, but that looks really nice on the side. The witchlet on the side looks so good. And so
So if I
go ahead, Chitter. I'm going to leave
sorry,
the no, I'm going to leave
sorry.
this to you, Chitter. I just want you to know.
Yeah. So the thing is that with this world, it's it does have its own subclasses, and yeah, each class aside from the artificer, because Watsy is dicks, has at least one subclass, like the barbarian with the path the experiment, the bard with the college of whistles, and so on. But if you actually scroll down, it's really fascinating what they chose to do. Is because if you don't want to select one of the aforementioned subclasses, it gives you a sentence to run with the theming that the subclass that you actually want to run would tap into. Like, say, for example, if you wanted to play a wild magic barbarian, the primal rage that you unleash comes from an ancient entity of the dark woods, which checks out. Or the bard, if you wanted to play like, oh, I don't want to play bard college of whistles, I want to play the college of spirits because I'm a masochist and love random chants. So you weave your spells by singing folk songs, performing folk dances, or sharing folk folklore. I think that one could have been reworded a little bit, but anyways,
Probably.
uh,
And on the bard subject, this is something I think we actually this isn't really about D&D, but this bard in particular or the theming, they actually have also showcased a great example of this in Ryan Coogler's latest movie Sinners because that's what happens in that book. It's a vampire bard who like leads a coven of like convert of people he turned into a coven of people he turned into vampires, and he's like singing folk songs, he's channeling Irish folk imagery and folky sayings and all that. So you could even do that for like having a subspecies as well, like maybe a Danfor who has traversed the woods, or maybe a werewolf who embraces his lycanthropy by talking about like an ancient rite. There's a lot of open-endedness.
yeah. And going on with that, there's even more with the cleric, where the deity you worship is an ancient and mostly forgotten god honored at natural shrines. Like, you could take any cleric class and be like, oh, if only I could find a shrine to my forgotten god. There's this abandoned shit in the back. And then you find it, it's like, oh my god, oh my god. You're basically a pagan in a Christian world. Only, yeah, you are a pagan in a Christian world. Then there's Druid. Your circle conducts its rituals in the most remote and isolated parts of the wilderness. Hi, Gruel.
I was also going to say, hi, most druids.
And then, of course, there is the fighter. The fighting style that you practice uh, it was passed down by an ancient, nearly extinct order, which, that checks out as well for something that would be completely realistic in folk horror. Someone coming from the mists who knows of ancient techniques that no one teaches these days. because they were either too dangerous or their leaders just died, too old to fight the horrors any longer. Or the monk, you learned your martial abilities from a secretive society that operates in the shadows, which would be really fucking terrifying for like a dragon one. I know Neffy would absolutely love it, but just imagine like the ascendant dragon, and it's like, I learned this from a secret society that operates in the shadows. What do you mean there's a secret society that uses the power of dragons?
You know what? For the monk, this is what I'm imagining right now. Is basically like, I learned how to use my ancient fighting powers from an ancient set of Tibetan monks. Wait, are you Batman? No, I am Monk Man. Uh,
I can hear Neffy screaming, "Monk man!"
I can hear somehow I can hear her screaming that as well. But it's true. Eh,
Yeah. Paladin, the oath you swore and the tenets you hold are rooted in superstition and folklore, which more than makes sense, especially if you were to do something like the critical role one, where it's like, oh, it's finding freedom and searching the waves and whatnot. And it's like, good luck with that. Good luck with that, buddy. And the ranger is basically the one that no one the ranger, the way that they said this, your wanderer able to survive in the most isolated and wild parts of the world. Why do I just imagine with how they said the druid as well, the ranger is just the one that no one's quite sure who invited them to the table?
what? Wait, why is that ranger here? He knows how to survive in the isolated parts of the woods. Why does he have a bear? That's how he survives.
Did you invite them? No, I thought you invited them. No, I thought Jeff invited them. Jeff, did you invite them? No, I thought Tommy did.
No, well, then how did he get here? No one invited him. And the ranger doesn't say anything. He just looks at you with like that psychopathic look in his eyes.
And then there's the rogue. You use stealth and subterfuge to advance the aims of a mysterious hidden cult, which, you know what, that kind of checks out. Sorcerer. The events that grant you sorcery were inexplicable and uncanny, leaving you haunted, which, again, that's just sorcery.
Don't diss the sorcerers. All
I
praise.
love sorcerers.
I know.
I
All
love
praise to meta magic. All praise to the meta magic.
I love sorcerers as much as you do, but also that's just sorcery in a nutshell. The haunted background is pretty much built for them. You either got fucked into existence or or you got haunted into existence, and I'm not sure which is worse for your psyche.
You know, I could honestly see the Obojima Oni sorcerer being applicable to this back as well. Just saying.
Yeah. Warlock, you practice the magic granted by your patron through archaic rituals of sacrifice. That's just a warlock, my guys. That's
Mm-hmm.
just a warlock. And then wizard, you learned your arcane arts from lost and forbidden knowledge you unearthed. That's just a wizard.
100%. And I like that too. It actually frames it so that even if you don't want to play the subclasses here, they give you a good way to have your backstory still make it explain how it works in the world of Duskfall, which I think is a great addition. Um but and I'm going to be honest here, we're going to be seeing a lot of really good subclasses this time around and wizards. But on
Hey, the wizard. I'm gonna say this: the wizards here fucking rock.
well, they're better. Well, they have to beat the paper wizard, and let's be fair here, a bottle of water could beat the paper wizard from Omojima. So as long as they
Oh
beat that,
god.
oh god, they still haven't
Oh
fixed that class, by the way. But we're not gonna get into that. That's gonna be hard.
no, that was just pain.
Right. Let's get into the subclasses proper because we actually got a couple we want to talk about today. We're gonna start with the barbarian, of course, and the path of the experiment. So, barbarians following the path of the experiment supplement their rage with alchemical cocktails that surge in their body through syringes and tubes of copper, steel, and glass. Their formula enhances their ability to channel prime might, or perhaps, because of their rage, they are the only people who could survive the chemicals flooding their veins. So, for those of you who are unaware what this basically means, it boils down to this. These are your Dr. Mundos, your Hulks, your Banes. Like, this is what you play for those types of classes and it fits
Hey,
so well.
can I ask a very honest question?
Yeah, what?
I've been thinking I've been thinking about this.
Mhm.
With waiver in particular, would you potentially offer this as like a secondary subclass, if he were to take like three levels in barbarian or 6 levels in barbarian, would you offer this as like a potential way for like Waver to show either his rage from not being able to create, or like just straight up his work with alchemy?
So I did think about that, but I had to scrap it for one important reason. Waver's character is so mentally unstable, I guess the best way to describe it, and not like in a crazy sense. Like Waver has said multiple times in our campaign, he's not all there. Um, I would be afraid that given his lack of caring for anyone, he would snap and immediately attack the party with this. And I could not argue why he wouldn't have done that because it's in his character to be as unhelpful as possible.
Yeah. Like I'm just gonna say this. If his character was only slightly different, this is like how things are like between uh for this class for waiver, you know how sometimes when you're presenting your ID card or passport going through the terminal and it just slightly rejects you for like just slight reasons? That I kind of feel like this is that for waiver, because it's like the initial stuff is so perfect, but you still have to go through the till and explain why you can't have it.
Possibly, but honestly, if you look at the subclass as without the waiver backstory bit, I'm gonna be honest. This subclass feels really similar to the League of Legends character Doctor Mundo. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I'm gonna let everyone. I'm gonna let you all get your own personal, you know, answer to that question. For me personally, I don't really mind it because I throw a lot of references into my games, but it isn't like it does kind of hurt the subclass and its uniqueness. So we're gonna just read through its special abilities real quick. It actually gets two abilities at level 3. The first one is alchemical experiments, which states you get a set of alchemist supplies and you have proficiency with it. Additionally, you can use alchemist supplies instead of an herbalism kit to craft potions of healing. Now, I don't necessarily know if that means you have to collect different type of material for it, but I think that's up to the DM. But essentially, it does give the barbarian a way to self-heal, a bit with some workaround and a bit of a caveat that they have to make the potions themselves.
But like still, if you're the if if you're having the like the f- if you're having the tank of the party also be able to not just make potions of healing like once every blue moon, but like on a consistent basis,
Mhm.
that puts some relief off of your healers and whatnot, because they know that their tank is going to be able to help them. Maybe not like maybe not like reduce the damage, but they can help them be more prepared.
And I
And
think,
that synergy is vital.
yeah, especially though, again, it's up to interpretation how the DM wants to implement that ability to use the alchemist supplies. But if it's anything like, say, tinkerer's tools or woodcrafting stuff, where let's say they have some floral around, they can use this. I don't see any reason why they couldn't use it multiple times a day, because it just says that it just says potions of healing. So does that mean I could make all the versions of potions of healing? Can I make greater potions of healing, or is it just the baseline ones? We don't know, and that's okay. We're not really meant to know. It's a good level 3 ability that's more of a bonus than anything else. The true level 3 ability is Volatile Serum. And I'm going to have to read this one because this one is going to be a bit of an odd one. You have implemented a series of syringes and reservoirs that hold alchemic serums and deploy them into your body. When you enter a rage, you choose one of the serums and to inject to gain its benefit during the length of the rage. Okay, the first one is Ferocity. The serum throws you into an enraged frenzy. You ignore difficult terrain. When you hit with a melee weapon or unarmed strike, you can activate the Cleave Mastery property in addition to its different mastery property you're using. I don't know what that means just yet. I'm gonna have to probably look that part up. But
Uh no, no, I know what it means.
okay.
So this is a 2024 thing. Is weapon masteries are inherent to every single melee weapon and every single ranged weapon. I think it's every single melee and ranged weapon. I know it's for sure every melee weapon. Each one has a different one. There's cleave, there's slow, there's graze. They all do various different things. The cleave one is basically where you can, if you knock an enemy down to 0, you can continue using the rest of the damage you rolled on a different enemy within the same range.
Okay, so that's not, and it lets you also get a different mastery property you're using, so you don't have to choose between one of the two. That's, I mean, the difficult terrain part's pretty good. I like that one. Um, but outside of but I don't know if but the cleave seems very situational because you don't know if you're gonna be able to take down you can take down the cannon fodder and then transfer the rest of the damage to maybe the big bad if they're close enough, which is good. I'll grant that part, but I mean, there is,
I will say this.
yeah.
Barbarians are often the ones having multiple people surround them because the DM isn't stupid and the enemies would want to target the toughest person there. So having that ability to just be able to go through an enemy, it it gives more reason for them to be tanky, to be surrounded.
Okay, okay, then maybe it's a good thing. Again, like I said, this is strictly just maybe it's a me thing, so I don't know if I would find it necessarily different, but for me personally, I think it's pretty good. Um but the mastery properties we've never used before, and I would need to read up on more to see if I use it or break it in any situation. That's just me personally, but I think it's okay. It's an okay benefit.
Yeah, this one definitely leans more towards the 2024 rules, and that's a thing for the book as a whole.
True, and they did have to do that because this book did come out after 2024 was released. I don't know if Legends of Advantage knew about 2024 when they made it, but it wouldn't surprise me that they probably had an idea.
Yeah.
So, next,
Especially being in contact with D&D Beyond, they were probably like, "Hey, when this book comes out, we're gonna have this shit going on. Do you mind reworking some things?"
that's probably true. But the next one is monstrosity. The serum expands your body to monstrous proportions and changes your appearance in cosmetic ways, such as altering facial features, skin tone, hair length, or color. Your reach increases by 5 feet, and once per turn, when you miss an attack roll that relies on strength, you can add your rage damage bonus to the total, potentially causing the attack to hit. If you are smaller than large, you become large, along with anything you are wearing or carrying. If it isn't enough room to accommodate the size change, your size doesn't change. Okay, so uh
I'm sorry. I'm just imagining because they said it can change. It doesn't say like, oh, it makes your hair. It alters hair length and color and whatnot. All I'm imagining is a serum that just goes, and now you're bald and strong.
you your hair immediately cuts out, and then you're like, oh my god, bald. But no, like this. Okay, so this kind of feels like the Path of the Titan barbarian subclass that they added to Baldur's Gate 3, where that whole shtick is you just when you rage, you get bigger and you get like more throw damage and everything. Um, here.
Path of the Giant.
Mhm.
Path of the Giant is pretty similar for like the D&D book itself as well. I will say that.
Okay, so but here the difference is it's not throw damage or something like that or improvised weapons attacks. Here it's we're gonna make sure you hit with that weapon one way or another.
Yeah. Which I kind of like. I like being able to turn a miss into a failure as a class feature because that isn't respected enough until you get to the actual table and you're rolling. A lot of people go, "Oh, bardic inspiration. Oh, heroic inspiration. Oh, being able to roll guidance and whatnot." Until you get to the table, and then you have a Garson moment where you're freaking out about guidance because fuck you, how dare you make that roll, you fucking bullshit.
I have no idea what you're talking about, um but yeah, no, I like that. And this one seems like the most universally good one because as you level up, the rage damage will increase, which means you have about a chance to hit, which means you will deal that damage bonus. Because it doesn't take away the damage bonus from the damage, it just adds it to the attack roll. And about 10 turns of rage is
Yeah.
really good. Now, the size changing thing, that's flavorful, I guess. I would kind of say, I mean, it's not a bad
It
thing.
No, no. Here's the thing. Here's the
Mhm,
thing.
mhm.
That's actually more utility than most people realize. And there's a reason for that. Is size is not only comparable to that, but also it can block you from being trapped by certain spells because you have to be medium or smaller. I know a couple of spells that can do that. I can't remember them by name, but I do know. Oh, it's like the immovable sphere of force or something like that. That requires the target to be medium sized or smaller. So if you just become large, you straight up don't get affected by that. And also, there would be another reason why you would want to keep this going for a tiny bit and may actively want to use it is because large also affects your carrying capacity. It's not just your strength modifier, it's your size as well.
Right. And like I said, that's why this is probably the most generically good one. Like, even if you are, you still need to rage to activate that, which means you have to be dealing damage to keep it up. But there is a lot of benefit to that. And having a large target would also make it so that the ads would probably target you a little bit more. So it helps the party as well.
Yeah. And
So,
then there's the final one, otherwise known as the one you do when you're fucking in trouble.
yes, the reconstruction one. Okay, so reconstruction. The serum dulls pain and forces wounds to rapidly knit. Upon activation at the start of each of your turns, you can expend and roll a hit point die. You regain a number of hit points equal to the number roll plus your constitution modifier, a minimum of 1. You gain any excess beyond your HP points as temporary hit points. If you take acid or fire, the serum doesn't function at the start of your next turn. Okay, so I like this because you aren't wasting the hit die even if you are close to full health, because you will get those temporary hit points, which is always a good thing. I like that they thought about that.
And from what I've been reading up, like not just in this world from Avantis, but like D&D in general, I especially love that it says that if you take acid or fire damage, that's a vulnerability that is really quite interesting. We don't see vulnerabilities a lot. We see resistances and immunities, but a vulnerability means you have to play it carefully. If the other two aren't affected by acid or fire, but if you're in an acid and fire one and you're near like where you feel you have to use that, that would be interesting because you couldn't rely on it.
And that's not the other thing I want to point out. When we talk about magic damage, fire is the most common when it comes to magical damage, and then shortly after that is frost. Acid's actually one of the more uncommon ones. That's more related to traps and stuff, and maybe a few breath weapons, and maybe a creature or two would have it as a natural attack. But fire is the most common spell damage, which means now you have to be very threatened. You have to be very careful around spellcaster enemies, because those guys will have at least firebolt, and if that happens, you're going to lose a big bonus that you're not going to have your healing serum. Now, that being said, however, this is a really good tank ability because you're going to get those temporary hit points and you're going to heal back. You are expending hit point die, so you're not going to have a lot at the beginning. But I do like the fact that towards the end, you probably have like 6, which means you're going to have like you're going to be able to tank a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fucking crazy.
And next up, we have the level 6 buff ability, Augmented Compounds. Through continued experimentation of your natural adaptation to your implants, you can now activate one of the compound options below, in addition to a serum, when you enter a rage or change your chosen serum. The chosen compound lasts for the duration of your rage or until you choose a new compound. So basically, what this means is that at level 6, your rage gets another ability. So you get Simulated Senses, which could mean you gain blind sight out of a range of 30 feet. If you already have blind sight, its range is increased by 30 feet. So if you got double blind, so you already have blind sight, this means you get 60 feet of blind sight, which is broken. I love that. I love that ability.
Al- Also,
Hmm.
this could make a barbarian fighter combo terrifying if you think about it, okay?
Hmm.
Because oftentimes blind sight is used through the blind fighting ability, which is 10 feet. Like, that's okay for like fighting and whatnot, but you aren't going to be like sniffing out enemies and whatnot for it. Imagine if you get for even a moment 40 feet of blind sight.
I mean, look, blind sight is one of those where if you have it, you're pretty much in a good spot, and that's why they usually cap it around 30 feet. This one guarantees that if you had it any other way, you get it by another 30 feet, which basically means that you can do you're going to be able to see things coming a mile away. The darkness spell is not a threat to you. The blinding powder is not a threat to you. anything that implements blind on you or a status condition or deafened, you're going to be okay. That's a great way to nullify two really damaging status ailments that can affect your character.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, now simple buff wise is fine. Maddening fumes though, your skin emits aggressive spiking fumes in a 30-foot emanation area of effects. For those who don't know what that word means, within the emanation, an enemy's speed is halved. If it starts the turn there, it must succeed a Wisdom saving throw, DC 8 plus your Constitution modifier and proficiency bonus. That's good that it's not making you have to use a Wisdom or Intelligence modifier. It's using your Constitution modifier, which is probably going to be your highest one anyway, so that's good. Or have disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you until the start of its next turn. Okay, that I like.
Yeah, like that is just
Go
that
ahead.
is just flat out dangerous,
Mhm.
because the thing is that that is essentially like a compelled duel with no range disadvantage, because the moment that they get into it, they're fucked.
Right.
And they can't get out as fast. They are literally in difficult terrain. And then if they are in actual difficult terrain, their speed is now a quarter.
And that's what I love is that even if they do pass the check, they still have half speed, which means on average they're going to be able to move up 15 feet because average run speed is about 30, give or take. And if they do fail the DC saving throw, then they're going to want to target you. But let's say you're using this along with the reconstruction serum because you can combine these two. Now you have to force them to attack you to deal damage, but you now have the ability to heal your wounds pretty easily, which means the cleric can save those resources for the other abilities or even some damaging spells. The squishy people are probably going to be fine because they're not going to be any threat. So you become like a one-man zone of one-on-one confrontation that basically is going to shut down most melee enemies. I say most because there are stuff like Way of the Elements monks who can probably pull you in with a water whip, or obviously there's going to be rangers who might use ranged attacks, but that's still disadvantage. They still might lose those rolls, and disadvantage is a good thing. Spellcasters, though, I don't know if that's going to necessarily mean the worst of them because they're not really going to be wanting to move. Spellcasters like to be feet planted on the ground and
N-
throwing fire out their hands.
No, Garson, there's something else that it limits with spellcasters.
What's that?
And it limits their options, because a spell can either be an AoE, or it can, like, a save, or it can be an attack, a melee, like a spell attack roll. This says all attack rolls. It doesn't specify just melee.
No, I'm aware of that, but what I'm thinking of is spells like the spellcaster probably will want to cast stuff like Fireball because that's a saving throw. I don't know if that counts as an attack roll. I think it's more of a
No,
spell saving ability.
it is, but also if you're within that emanation, you're within 30 feet. That limits your options for AoE attacks, because that leaves you potentially in it. Because unless they have spells that are actively, like you can choose your targets, which means that they're a more advanced spellcaster, or they're using, and you're gonna hate me for this, or they're using meta magic, then basically, uh they they're so close that they can't use those things properly.
You're right. I like this. Like all three of these are pretty good. This one's probably the most versatile because just having the speed half is great, and then maybe inflicting disadvantage on attack rolls. Again, they could beat the saving throw. It happens. We can't base an ability off of a prop. Okay, I'm starting to realize I'm a bit too high up on there. But what I'm saying is that it's probably is the one that you would be using the most. Like you would use reconstruction and this combined the most out of these combinations of abilities.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Uh the other the other one, the last one, is actually kind of interesting.
Corrosive Expulsion. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of your attacks with a spray of caustic chemicals from your implant in a 15-foot cone or 30-foot line that is 5 feet wide. Choose the shape each time. Each character in the area must make a Dex saving throw using the same formula from the Maddening Fumes one, only this time for Dex, and roll a number of d8s equal to your rage damage bonus. On a failed save, a target takes acid damage equal to that total rolled, or half as much on a successful. Oh wow, that is damaging. So you're foregoing more safety
So,
for more raw damage at that point.
yeah, because here's the thing:
Mhm.
rage starts with 2. Then when you get to level 9, there's 3, and then level 16 is 4. So basically, what that's saying is that it will turn from a 2d8 attack, like just a 2d8 cone, to a 4d8 cone or line.
I just read this again and I realized something, and I think this is probably a great addition for York if you put this on your character, but it's going to break your character around level 6. Okay. Do you notice that there's no resource that's drained when you use this ability?
Well, I mean, there's rage.
Okay, but you would have been in rage regardless. Barbarians like to go into fights with rage. That's just their whole shtick. I mean, there's no,
Right.
but I'm saying it's not burning a rage charge. It's not burning a charge of anything. It's just adding that to your attacks every time. And by level 6, based on the argument you said, that's an additional 2d8 of damage by level 6. By level 9, that's 3d8s of additional damage.
Yeah,
And that means that's an additional 24 damage that can be done on any attack roll.
and it says when you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of your attacks. It does not. D&D is very much a case of if unless it specifically mentions it, you can do it. It does not say you can only use this once per turn.
Exactly. That's why I was saying that. I say that, and on top of that, a 30-foot line, you're giving barbarians range. Oh, like the cone thing. I'll admit the cone thing maybe wouldn't have made this as amazing, but that 30-foot line, if you're in a hallway, you're gonna hit someone with that ability.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's disgusting and terrifying, and oh my god.
I would say that this is okay. So I would say that this is probably if you are attacking. Okay. Oh well. Thank you, D20. Thank you, D&D Beyond, for putting what attack rolls means. But I'd say this like. But I'm gonna say it like this: if you are choosing to do more damage, if you're not meant to be like, if you're meant to be the off tank, like let's say you have a paladin or a cleric and they're doing the main tank role, you're the off tank. You can take this and then be that extra damage that potentially would help take out the enemy a lot faster. So I like that it's giving roles that are typically reserved um for classes. Oh, no, wait, let me rephrase this because I'm going to sound stupid if I don't phrase it right. I like the fact that it's giving sub roles to classes that typically function in one way. Barbarians are typically melee damage and a tank. They're not really meant to do a whole lot else, but this way you can be the sub tank, be in the midway point between where the main tank is and the rest of the party, take some hits if that happens, but you're also able to deal long range damage that is pretty effective and at a good amount. So I like that.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. This this ability
Mhm.
is one that you would genuinely. I'm going to say this is if this was UA, good luck getting this past a UA person talking about it, because that would
Exactly.
be seen as overpowered.
Oh, big
But because
time.
it's in an actual book, they had to have play tested it and been like, yeah, this works.
Well, remember, you have to. Well, I like this because it's not overpowered. You have to be at level 6 to get it. You still got to choose to have it, and you forego two other good abilities in Maddening Fumes and Simulated Senses, and then you got to combine it with what version of Barbarian you are. I would say if you were playing more of a Berserker Barbarian, this would probably be right up your alley. But if you're trying to be a tank Barbarian, you're not really going to want that extra damage. You're going to want the Maddening Fumes ability. So again, it's like it's giving you options, and they're both good. They just don't feel broken.
Yeah. All right, on to the next one.
All right, this one's pretty simple. It's the level 10 defensive bonus. You implement your which is reactive catalyst. Your implants are now sensitive to your response to danger and flood you with a stimulating chemical. When you take damage or you gain the blind, deafen, poisoned, or stun condition, you can take a reaction to enter your rage before the damage or conditions are applied. When you enter your rage, you end any of those conditions on yourself, including any trigger conditions. Additionally, when your rage is active, you have advantage on Constitution saving throws. Okay. All right. Okay, so actually, this is kind of amazing because this fixes one of the biggest problems that barbarians had, and that is not being losing your initiating roll and not being in rage. This
Yeah.
fixes that.
Like the way to catch barbarians off guard was the first turn.
Right. This, however, fixes that problem and kind of okay.
Removes it entirely.
Well, yeah, kind of does. But I also like the fact that if you built your character right using the simulated senses build, you don't have to worry about you blind and deafened are not going to be a problem because you have blind sight. And that just means, oh, you tried to make me blind, prepare to die, and you just like go full on rage. But I like this.
But do you want to know what I find very interesting about this?
Hmm.
Is that it's actually a little bit better than I think you probably realize.
How's that?
So, you know with which barbarian is it? I think it's like the berserker. They have like the mindless rage so that charmed and frightened doesn't work on them while they're in their rage. So it's like, "Oh, while you're raging, these no longer apply to you," which is, that's great. Like that's what it's there for, right?
Right.
This one says when you enter your rage before you end any of those conditions on yourself, not while you're raging, just gone permanently.
Wow, you're right. This could actually make it so you are immune to poison. You get stunned, and you're like, "What was that? I'm not stunned." And stunned is a pretty Stunned is probably a status condition that's really crippling if you get hit on it because it means that you lose your next turn.
And I'm just going to say this. Like oftentimes those status effects come from a an ability that either has like weaker damage or just does that through like a spell slot and whatnot,
Hmm.
or that ability, you realize that you can just flat out fail the spell or fail the check and it still not happen. This is essentially a situational legendary resistance.
Or it's just a reaction to taking damage. Which, let's be fair here, if you run in head first and someone hits you with the like a stray arrow, you're immediately in rage form. You're now set up for your next turn. If you didn't win the initiative roll, you didn't on actually. Fun fact: this actually makes your first turn so much better because now you don't have to burn your bonus action on rage. That's pretty amazing because now you basically get a free entry into rage. You still have to have the rage charge, I think. It doesn't really say that you have to use one of your
Yeah,
rage charges for it. So could this bypass that? I don't know. I don't think it does. Uh, but like
that would be up to DM discretion.
right, I would say no. I would
But
say that this would you would still need the charges to activate this ability, but you don't waste a bonus action to activate it.
yeah. And something that's really interesting
Mhm.
is that this makes a 10-10 or higher for barbarian side. This makes spellcasting barbarians viable because the biggest complaint of barbarians with spellcasting was always the rage you needed to start so you couldn't set up a spell. Ta-da! You don't have to waste that on your turn. You're not using your rage until the enemies are right there.
Right, and let's say you do have it activated, I think even if it does trigger your rage, it doesn't. I don't think it removes the spell casting ability unless it's like a concentration ability, because that's just what happens with rage is that it ruins concentration
Yeah,
abilities.
but it ruins concentration, but if you're thinking about it in like the terms of like flavoring this,
Hmm.
you would most likely be going with an artificer. So that would be stuff like call lightning and whatnot when you're at like 10 and that high level and you're thinking about those kinds of combos, that would be something that you would genuinely, and I mean this and I say this, that would be genuinely something that you would want to consider
Right.
because because this would be the artificer side, which again, you're you're someone who's literally injected shit into you. You have to have some sort of brains for this, for that artificer combo to make sense, or sorcerer or whatever. But it comes down to you can set up a spell or two before you have to do anything. Even a magic adept suddenly turns from like a, oh, well, this would have been nice to have to a, oh, I could set up a shield. I could set up a shield of faith, or I could set up a sanctuary or something along those lines. No, those are concentration, but you
Uh,
get what I'm
I do.
trying to think of, right?
I do, and I like that. And then it gives more options and it fixes a problem that barbarians had. It's a great ability, and I think that's really good. And at level 10, it is a bit high, I will admit, but I think it kind of has to be around that level 9 area. I would prefer if it was like around level 9. That's me personally. Just drop it down one level because level 10's bit high up there, but I can kind of understand why it needs to be that high too.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's level 14 biochemical
All
admixture,
right, here we
which is
go. The capstone.
so the capstone starts out seeming a little silly, but then it actually kicks itself into high gear. Your body focuses and combines the strengths of your serums. When you activate an option of your volatile serum, you activate two options instead of one, which is nice. Like that's that if that was it, I would consider that to be a shitty capstone. But then additionally, when a creature within 5 feet of you damages you with a melee attack while your rage is active, the creature takes 1d12 acid damage. A creature can take this damage only once per turn, so you know it's basically a free reaction. But
Hmm.
combine that with your corrosive shit.
Right. So when they say, by the way, when they're talking about the volatile serums, they're talking about the level 3 abilities, but Reconstruction,
But
Monstery,
you combine that anyways. You could put the corrosive shit anyway into it.
right. Which combine that with, so basically by that point, by level 14, how many rage damage bonuses are we still at 4 at around that point?
Uh, I think it's uh rage bonus. We have at level 14 we have 5 rages.
Okay, so hypothetically speaking, with corrosive expulsion taken from the augmented compounds, the monstrosity, and the reconstruction volatile abilities, theoretically speaking, um, that means they would take 1d12 when they attack you, and then they could potentially take up to five. You said 5d8s worth. You said 5d8 was because 5 is the rage
No,
damage
no,
bonus.
no.
Hmm?
It's 3 plus 3 for rage damage. You have 5 rages.
Oh no, I'm looking for the rage damage bonus because that's what the corrosive expulsion runs for the d8s.
Okay, so that would be 3 then until level 16.
Okay, so that would mean that hypothetically speaking, the max amount of acid damage you could do in one turn if you get attacked is potentially 36 damage of acid each attack. Because remember
Which is just
yeah, because you can also do that in a cone
that-
ability, so that's pretty good too.
that's just dumb. That's just really dumb.
Hey, barbarian, go
I love
burr,
it.
barbarian, go burr.
Barbarian barbarian go burr and I love it.
Well,
So this class,
yeah, I
yeah,
would give
this
this a
class
solid. I could go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. I think this class sets the stage really well and also kind of sets the theme for how they make things because they very clearly are wanting it to be not power creep, but they want it to be one that you would want to consider over the normal classes.
I would say this feels like a side grade to a traditional barbarian because it's focusing on acid damage, which, let's be fair here, acid does not get enough love in the D&D universe or at all in this because acid's a very uncommon type of damage type, and there's not a lot of resistances to it. There's not a lot of spells that use it, so it's very good for a barbarian to do this. And I like the fact that it explains it with the chemicals, with the chemical situation, and it does
What's
still maintain its tankiness.
What's fascinating though, and scroll down a little bit. This I genuinely love as like a person who's very creative
Mhm.
because in the class, like in the actual like subclass and whatnot, it tends to stick to a really rigid theming. But then it throws in, hey, these are examples of different forms your implants could take, like alchemical injector, just simply put, or alien grafts, Parts of your bodies have been replaced with parts of a dragon, a werewolf, or an aberration's rubbery tentacles. When you rage, the grafts overtake more of your body. Construct prosthesis, crystal formations, fungal inoculation, spark tech augmentation, like grass coils and arms run wires along your skin to plugs. Like this, like this basically says to you, yes, we know what we said from the start. That is number one. If you want to run with this idea and you don't want to do that, here are some other options to make it work off the bat.
And I love that. It feeds the lore aspect of the character. It gives some great examples, and on top of that, it can actually create some great story moments because alien graft or fungal and inoculation. I'd love to see what would happen if you were like, as you rage, mushrooms grow all over you, or like you turn more into like a crystal formation because you got a big chunk out of it. I like the spark tech augmentation because it makes you feel like Frankenstein, which is awesome.
Yeah, like this genuinely puts it in like a hey, we know what we started with, but we also recognize that there's not just one way to play this class, and we're going to show you. That is something I respect the hell out of for this because not many, even in WotC books, do this.
I have to agree with that. I've seen a lot of subclasses that just feel it feels okay to have in the class, but they don't feel like amazing as you play it. It just feels like it's there. This feels like it fits the theme of the world really well, and I like that. And I feel like you could only have a subclass like that in a world like this, with where all this inoculation, body injection, body horror, folklore stuff that's is running rampant.
Yeah.
So let's
And
move
it's to
on.
the point where it's even on the good guys.
Exactly. So now that we have established that, let's talk about the bard, the face, the sexiness, and talk about his most dangerous weapon ever, banjos
Actually, no, it's a whistle.
and a banjo.
Yes, but mainly whistles.
Okay, yes, maybe. All right, yes, I do agree with the whistles, but banjos. Anyway, the College of Whistles bard. Old tales spark of the dangers of whistling. The hollow, haunting pitch calls to the spirits of the departed and invites them back to the worlds of the living. Bards of the College of Whistles take these stories and set to their old warbling tunes, whistling forth their bardic magic and summoning spirits to aid in their travels. Okay, so basically, I'm going to boil it down to you guys. These are the railroad. These are the train yard hobo bards.
Not necessarily entirely. There can also be other ways of doing it, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I do have to admit, this class takes what the College of Spirits was doing and said, "Hey, how about we actually fucking do it right?"
So let's tackle its abilities. So the first one is handy haunts, which are basically you call forth haints, vagabond spirits, which inspire. Way, if you watched Sinners, they do use this word for the folklore. So I love the fact they're including it here too. When you inspire a creature
Yeah.
with bardic inspiration, you can summon a ghostly apparition that drifts around the inspired target. The haint casts an aura and a 15-foot emanation from the target. The haint vanishes after 1 minute when you summon a new haint, and when you use the reaction it grants you, or if you have the incapacitation status or die. When you summon a haint, choose its form: Gump, Sad Sack, or Scamp. So let's start with Grump. The red tinge elderly spirit, dressed in Thraben rags, threatens your foes and hangers on your allies to do better. The inspiration creature and its allies within the aura have advantage on charisma intimidation checks and strength saving throws. In addition, when a creature inside the aura deals damage, you can take a reaction to increase the damage dealt to one target by roll of your bardic inspiration die plus your charisma modifier. Hmm.
Huh.
I don't know how to feel about that
So
one.
that one I do like because the thing is that it essentially takes the bitchy old man spirit and kind of turns it against other people, which is interesting because not only is it flavor wise harassing your foes, it's forcing your allies to do better. Like for example, on intimidation checks, it could be saying like, "Hey, why don't you try actually being scary?" Or for strength saving throws, those are typically when you're being restrained or whatnot. And it could be saying like, "Hey, you actually going to let this wimp put you to the ground?" Or in addition, when a creature inside the aura deals damage, you can take a reaction to increase the damage dealt, which basically means you get a surge of old man strength.
Old man rage. I do like it. I think it's okay. Just I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's one that's good to have and would be a loss if it didn't, but it's not the star of the show, if that makes sense.
Next up, yeah, I guess that's fair. But compared to the other two, I think Grump is probably the third best. It's still good, just not amazing. Sad Sack, however, the bluish melancholic spirit straps the favor of your foes. The inspired creature and its allies within the aura to have half cover against range attacks. All right, that's pretty good. In addition, when a creature inside the
Yep.
aura takes damage, you can take a reaction to reduce the damage taken by an amount equal to your Bardic Inspiration die, plus your Charisma modifier. So this is like the exact opposite of Grump. This basically means that you are the protector of your party.
Yeah. The martyr, if you will. The spirit is a martyr.
Actually, I think the spirit is depressed based on how they're wording it.
Yeah. But I like to think that it's a bit of a oh, I never had any meaning in life, so at least I can have some meaning now protecting you.
Yeah, I like that. I like the half cover against range attacks. That's pretty good in certain situations where we wouldn't normally have that. And just grants it. It doesn't say you have to be next to anything for it to work. So that's always a good thing. And even if you do take the damage, you can reduce it by. I would say if you got a good bard roll at beginning, if you had a 20 in charisma to start with, and you got like a max roll on your bardic inspiration die, that's 11 damage reduction on that ability, which is great.
And for ranged attacks often do less individual damage, so you're potentially removing it altogether.
Yep, combine that with a monk ability to do monk shit, and then that would be pretty broken.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the last ability is
So
Scamp. Oh, what you were gonna say?
S yeah, Scamp. Scamp is actually one that I kind of find really fucking interesting because it's like, oh, the golden hue, childlike spirit delights and invigorates your allies. When the inspired creature or its ally starts a turn in the aura, that creature's speed increases by 10 feet until the end of its next turn. In addition, when a creature inside the aura fails a saving throw period, you can take a reaction to let the creature re-roll the d20. So you essentially get a free lucky.
That's pretty good. And I do notice that you don't get any bonuses to your, you know, bardic inspiration, but that's okay. This is meant to be like the generic use of this ability, which is fantastic to be able to give free saving throw rerolls. I desperately love that.
Yeah. And now
Now,
moving on to
yeah, and I was going to say now.
the whistling
All right, let's go to the whistle
yeah,
power.
this one I genuinely fucking awesome.
So you shape the superstition of
Because
whistling into the dead into opponent instrument. Okay, go ahead.
so first of all, when you finish a long rest, you can touch a non-magical bag, sack, or similar container and turn it into a bindle. It functions as a handy haversack, which is basically It each side pouch can hold 20 pounds of material, not exceeding a
Mm.
cubic volume of 2 cubic feet. The large central pouch can hold up to 8 cubic feet or 80 pounds of material. The backpack always weighs 5 pounds regardless of its content. So you basically it's not as absolutely game breaking as a bag of holding because it can only hold like roughly 100 pounds, but still you can put 100 pounds of shit in there for free.
And on top of that, if you create a second bindle, if your bindle is more than 1 mile away from you or when you die, the bindle loses its magic and anything inside appears in unoccupied space closest to the container. So in theory, you could I just thought of a really funny scenario.
Yeah.
Fill up one of these bags with a bunch of alchemical stuff like alchemist fire and heavy explosive powder, and just leave it somewhere and walk away.
Just yeah, because it
And
weighs 5 pounds no matter what, so they wouldn't know necessarily what's in it.
right, and then if you walk away, the magic's gone, and then it spews everything out. It doesn't necessarily explain how. So there is a scenario where the alchemist fire breaks open, sets the rune powder on fire, blows up the house.
Yeah, and all they would find is a sack.
Yep. Well, it looks like the sack bandit blew up another house again.
Yeah. But then what's interesting is bards are known for their verbal spells. Like vicious mockery is the most famous of those spells. So straight up, you can whistle in place of verbal components for your bard spells. Observers unfamiliar with this tradition must succeed on a DC 15 Arcana check to recognize your spellcasting for what it is by whistled verbal components alone. So you know the whole saying about how vicious mockery is like the spell that kills people by insulting them?
Yep.
You literally just whistle in their direction and you kill them.
What? That guy whistled at me. Prepare to die. But it also
No, the
does.
thing is that you wouldn't recognize is that if they fail that check, they wouldn't recognize it came from you. So most people wouldn't be able to recognize that the whistle was what killed them.
Not to mention, it also can work on stuff like vicious mockery. Well, we already mentioned vicious mockery, but like Tasha Hideous Laughter, or a lot of other good verbal spells that you can cast. Like Healing Word, you could use with this ability instead of like just using the spell component, which is great. Heal someone who's in a fight and don't let them know.
Hey, my arm's no longer broken. Fuck,
Now I
who
can
did
punch you
that?
again. Now, those
Yeah,
two, yeah, and that's pretty basic. I like the fact that you can basically make free bags of holding. Granted, it doesn't, it's not a bag of holding, but it is a free
but
wondrous item that you can make for level 3.
and also to be fair, a bag of holding costs roughly 500 gold, if not more. So to get even like a trial version of that for free, that's amazing.
That you can get on any long rest.
Yeah. So if it gets damaged or anything, or if you die and come back to life, you can just make it again instead of having to spend 500 gold.
I gotta admit, it's pretty good. And it's level 3 ability, which is really cheap, because half the time this is something like an artificer would get, and they have to be like level, I would say like maybe up to level 6 to start making something like this.
Yeah. And the thing is that for a level 3 character, I'm just gonna say this flat out. If if you're going over 100 pounds of stuff that's unrelated to your adventuring equipment, you you need to start selling some shit because a level 3 character you either need to start selling shit or you need to start giving it to the mule of the party.
Hey, I mean, look,
Because
it. Go ahead.
let's be fair here. A bard can carry 100 pounds worth of stuff. That's not in denial. But the thing is that if it's 100 pounds of stuff that you could put into a sack without having to worry about it, then something has gone clearly wrong, or you're carrying shit that's probably worth the 500 gold to get that bag of holding.
I
Am
wonder
I
though.
wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I was just reading the handy haversack again, and it also has the same thing of putting 2 bags of holding into itself. So I do wonder,
Yeah,
could that technically mean that at level 3, there is a world where this bard can blow up the astral realm using the bag of holding trick?
absolutely.
I don't know if I should be happy about that or terrified, but I think it's pretty
Depends if you're
fun.
the player or the DM, Garson.
Pretty much. It's level 6 ability Homeward Bound. You can whistle to conjure a ghostly train that returns you and your companions to a known destination. When you finish a long rest, you can leave a mark at the location using paint, chalk, carving, or some other medium, which can be erased, defaced, destroyed normally. Thereafter, you can use the feature to cast Teleportation Circle using the mark as the destination. You can cast a spell this way, a phantom train whisks away creatures who enter the circle, and you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. You get a number of marked locations equal to your charisma modifier at one time. If you mark a location beyond your maximum, one of the previous marks of your choice fades. When you reach level 9 in this class, you always have Teleportation Circle prepared and can use it at any of your marked locations at your destination when you cast it. Wow. Okay. There's a lot to take in here.
So the thing is,
Mm,
and this is the balancing act, is that it is a mark with paint, chalk, carving, or some other medium, which I genuinely like because the way that I would rule it as a DM is it depends on the weather in the area where you leave the mark. If you left it in like a swampy area, I would have you roll a d20 and a 10 or lower and it's removed. If it's in like a moderately temperate area, I would say have it be like a 5. If it's in a heavily walked area, a 15. Like I would put something there, maybe not a 15 for a heavily walked area, but like you understand what I'm trying to get at. I would that leaves room for interpretation, like you said with the potions of healing, that
mhm.
allows you to be like, hey, you don't just get this for free. You have to make sure to be careful with your markings.
One thing I do like about this is that at level 9, it does basically give you the ability to use it at any level. I mean, well, oh no, what I mean is like at level 9, it gives you the ability to use teleportation circle without any repercussions, which is a great thing to
Yeah,
have. And
yeah. Like you can use it in the same way with the same uh like marked locations as the destination, but you also can use it for other teleportation circles. I'm sorry, I just had a really funny laugh. I
all
I
right,
I
why is
just thought
that?
of something really. Carson, one of the sentences for teleportation is many major temples, guild halls, and other important places have permanent teleportation circles. Each circle includes a unique sigil sequence, a string of runes arranged in a particular pattern. So you need to learn the sigil sequences. Imagine you're just at like a guild hall and you just hear choo choo.
All aboard! Magical train transportation, let's roll. But actually, you could do
No,
that.
imagine a train just comes through your guild hall and they just walk out and say you will never no one will ever believe you because there's no damage.
Yeah, because Bayou Billy managed to find a way to put the mark down in your house somewhere. And that's the thing I like about this is that basically, if you're making a campaign, the bard should be able to wander off somewhere, maybe make a small carving into a door frame or something. Like maybe they know a guild hall that's pretty open to this. They can put a mark on the side of the door, and then if case shit goes down, they have an emergency escape button.
And that's awesome because the thing with our campaigns is that we often like to let characters have individual story moments and that could be something that's done with that and the character could be like, "Hey, remember when I went off to do this thing? I have an escape button built for this because of that."
Well, I like that. I also like the fact that basically you can have up to like 5 of these at once at max. If you have the max modifier for for your charisma.
Also, as a DM, if this was a like if they're using the teleportation circle feature where the phantom train whisks them away, I would give them like not a long rest, but I would give them like 10 to 20 minutes if they so chose, like they were in a peaceful situation and they wanted to slow down the train. I would give them a 10 to 20-minute in-game time moment to kind of just talk and have character moments if they were in a peaceful situation and wanted it.
Well, we're not actually done with the train stuff because while Homeward Bound is pretty much teleportation circle really early, Ride the Rails, that one I think is kind of interesting to read.
Okay, can I just say this?
Mhm.
Ride the Rails is the Asdiv train kid.
Yeah, pretty pretty much, yeah. Okay, so you can whistle as a magic action to summon a spectral locomotive into existence. It hurls forward in a 120-foot long, 10-foot wide line from you. It passes through objects and creatures. You and up to 6 willing creatures of your choice within 30 feet can hitch a ride on the train. You teleport to an unoccupied space of your choice in the line, and your creatures who accompany you appear in the closest unoccupied space near you. Each other creature in the line must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or have the deafened condition until the start of your next turn, be pushed up to 10 feet straight from the line's point of origin, and take an amount of psychic damage equal to 3 rolls of your bardic inspiration die. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, or unless you expend a spell slot of level 3+. No action required to
So
restore
you
your use of it.
so you basically get psychic train.
Pretty much. I mean, it's a mass teleportation. It's like a dimension door that can deal damage.
Yeah, which is insane for a level 6 feature. And it
Yeah.
gives them the deafen condition, so the bard can't use like vicious mockery or any verbal spells, which is probably the downside because their whole spell shtick is whistling.
Mm-hmm.
But also with those spells, they also, well, they could pull away with the train, push them away, be deafened, and throw smoke, and then they don't know where the fuck they're going.
And you know the other thing that I was reading this ability on? There's no
What?
saving throw. There's no check. You're gonna take that 3 psychic damage. You're gonna take that 3 rolls of bardic inspiration damage, one way or another.
Eith Each other creature in the line must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or have the deafened condition
Oh,
until the
okay.
start of your next.
Oh, damn it.
And Garson doesn't read a few sentences down once again.
Wow, what are we up to on that one? Like 7 at this point?
It's like once a episode, Garson. You have like 3 a book
Well, we're definitely
at
gonna have more.
least.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have more before the end of this. Not gonna lie.
Fair enough. But yeah, this is a genuinely amazing ability, and it really is just like, I'm going to take this train and hit you.
Well, speaking of that, let's talk about the capstone ability, last stop, which is we're gonna take this train and hit you, but harder. Okay,
You blow a whistle that is audible to up to 300 feet away. Up to 6 creatures of your choice that you can see within range must succeed on a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC or be cursed. When a cursed target takes psychic damage, it has the frightened condition towards the source of that damage until the end of its next turn. The first time a cursed target takes psychic damage, it has vulnerability to psychic damage. The target it has vulnerability?
Yeah, it does.
The target repeats the saving throw at the end of each of its turn, ending the effect on a success. After 1 minute, it succeeds automatically. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until long rest. So you literally just shrill your whistle and then ride the rails. And one moment, I need to check something really quickly.
I would do so because the way I'm wording this basically means that you blow the whistle one time, then you ride the rails, and you could do potentially 6d6 of psychic damage.
Yeah, and then you deafen them.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. This doesn't seem like a bard. This seems like a magic caster who likes trains.
I do have to admit it is really funny, but also a bard just on trains is it would do this. And I find this really fascinating that comes with the bard with like bardic inspiration and whatnot, but also bards just get they're the musician that got kicked off the train and they're fucking mad about it.
No, no, no. This is a hobo bard. Okay, this is everything about this is hobo bards. Hobos riding the train tracks. Hobos having banjos. Hobos using the whistle. Riding trains. These are hobo bards. Okay, and that's hobo. Just letting everyone know that. But here's the other thing. Again, we are seeing a class that is using a very uncommon damage type in psychic, which I don't really know how many spells have that. But like, if you have Tasha's Hideous Laughter or Vicious Mockery or any of that stuff, this is going to hurt. And if they don't, and if you need to hit them with a lot of stuff, you hit them with a train.
Yeah. But what's fascinating is that it also focuses on the spirit aspect as well. Because the thing is that the Haints seem like the passengers on the train. Like, I could imagine the train coming by, and just as a cameo, you see the grump, the sad sack, and the child going, wee!
Well, I do agree with that, but if I'm being honest, I'm a little disappointed. Not by most of it, but there is just one thing I'm a little disappointed about this class with.
What?
They're not doing a whole lot with the Haints. There's no bonuses to them. They don't get any buffs. All the late game spells and everything they get are tied to the train stuff, which is good. I think it's a great. I like the flavor. I like the abilities. I think they're kind of cool. But it feels like the Haints are kind of like an afterthought. We don't get any bonuses to Grump or Sadsack or Scamp. I mean, granted, maybe they don't need them, but I would like maybe like an additional bonus or something to them at later levels. We also don't get a whole lot of late game abilities. Most of the stuff gets capstone around 6 until we get Last Stop, but we have the Ride the Rails ability by level 6. We have the Teleportation Circle by level 6. I don't really feel like we need to go past that. It feels like level 6 would be probably where we cap it and then we subclass into into something else. Um, which I feel like maybe I wish there was just more to it. It feels like it's a great start, but I feel like they didn't finish it. Does that make sense?
I'm going to say this.
Hmm.
This feels like a bard class where you have to play it to get what they were going for.
Maybe. I think that's a good way to view it. I don't hate the class. I feel like there's more that could be done with this, and not in a bad way. It's maybe just because I want more with this. With the folklore, like being able to summon spirits or maybe doing that. I mean, granted, hitting someone with a train is fun. I don't dispute that. I just feel like I wanted
Yeah.
more of like the folklore aspect of it to come from the class because that's what the main selling point of the book is. And this just feels
Yeah.
like I hit you with train.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. This is absolutely incredible. It just feels like, I don't
Train.
know.
That's what.
Yeah, train.
Actually, know what this is? This is that character from Rick and Morty. Alan, the Alan guy who has the ghost train powers. That's what
I
this
think they were
is.
I think that's what they were going for, which is not
Yeah.
bad per se. It just feels like they wanted to do something with spirits. Now, here's the thing. Here's why I say that this is still the College of Spirits, but done properly. It's because the ability isn't a dice roll bullshit, and you can't get connected to any of the spirits.
Right.
You can get connected to the Haints very easily and throw them in as flavor and whatnot. The fucking the fucking spirit one, I tried it, and basically I only got attached to the very first one that I rolled because it was the only thing, because you can't get connected to 6 or 7 different spirits. And if you want to make a spirit character, I'm sorry, but you have to limit it to 3 because drawing spirits isn't pulling freebie. Those spirits are coming to you for a reason.
One of the other things I'm a little disappointed about the class too is that this doesn't feel like it has any of the bard benefits. There's no benefits to, I mean, there's no bonuses to bardic inspiration like certain classes get. There's nothing like, I would say, any, like, the bardic inspiration stuff is kind of like a secondary thought. They do kind of use it for the Haints, but then we look at Whistling Wanderer, which, great ability because it gives you that heavy sack and you can whistle your spells, which is great. But then the whistle doesn't really feel like it does more. I'm just saying this feels like the start of something. I don't feel like there's enough here to make it fully realized yet. And I feel like there could be more. And I don't hate it. I just want more because I feel like there's more we could do with it.
I feel that this is a class that I would have to play to understand the intentions, because this feels like they're trying to do something. And if I want to understand what they're trying to do, I need to play it.
Right. And on top of this, they also have the same thing they had with the Barbarian. They actually have some flavor rolls that you can put on there,
Now,
which
I like these
I like them
because
too.
they are spirits that come out there, and the train isn't included. And that's what led me to think that these are passengers, because they're leading you to the train.
I think so too. I like the train aspect of it. I just feel like more train or a little bit more with the spirits. That's my only complaint. Maybe have right like because I like the last stop ability, but you know what I would like more about that is that at last stop you actually can summon multiple trains that hit them, and the whistle
Or
makes it.
just summon
Mhm.
or just summon all the Haints.
You're right, exactly. Hell, have them turn into ghost trains too. I'm just saying, like, you know what? I'm going in circles at this point because I'm saying the same thing over and over again. Like the class, it's okay. It just feels like I wish there was more to it in certain aspects, but what we have is good. Just
Yeah.
probably could be
Yeah.
more. Pretty good. Anyway, let's move on to the
Yeah.
cleric.
Yep, the final class
Oh,
for today.
yeah, the final class for today, and oh boy, we got a
Hi,
doozy.
Hydrangea.
No, we got this one's gonna be a hefty one because we got a lot to cover with this one. Okay, so let's
Oh,
start with
dear
yeah.
God.
No, trust me on this because this one actually has 4 level 3 abilities, and it doesn't get anything
Why
else.
does it have that many?
Okay, well, I'll explain why. The first two, so we're just going to go real quick. The Harvest Domain Cleric. The Harvest Domain draws from the cycle, beginning from creation, reaching abundance, and ending in culling before repeating endlessly. Deities of farming, crops can focus on one of the harvest aspects, but most drawn in the phase of each cycle. Clerics of this domain are drawn to the cyclonic nature of existence, and often take on
Cyclical.
word that means circle, and they often take on roles of shepherds of different cycles. Okay, we're going to breeze through the first two because they're pretty basic. Community Almanac. You
You
gain
gain an her
yeah. You gain
yeah,
herbalism
you
kit.
get an herbalism kit.
Yeah, proficiency with
Yeah,
it. You
you
gain
have an
proficiency in nature and survival. Or survival.
yeah, yeah. And then harvest. Wait a minute. Yo, this is fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute. Before we move on from the spells,
Mhm.
there is only one other class that has done something like this, and it was amazing, and I'm glad they're doing it with something else. This is the Moon Sorcerer as a cleric, and I fucking
What
love that.
wait, do you mean the moon the lunar druid? Because I don't remember there being a moon sorcerer, but maybe I haven't just seen it yet.
The Lunar Sorcerer. Lunar Sorcery from the Dragon Queen book.
Oh, I gotta look that up then, because I love sorcerer stuff. But you're right. This is where the spells get interesting. So, for those of you who don't know what this is, let me explain what it is. Whenever you finish a short or long rest, you choose an aspect of the harvest cycle, sowing, growing, or reaping, and consult the harvest domain spell table. You have those spells listed in the column of your choice aspect of your cleric level or lower prepared. Okay, so what does that mean? Every short rest or long
Basic
rest. So every short rest or long rest, you get to pick
you
one of these domain spells.
Yeah, and it's not that you get to pick individual ones, you get to pick the group of them.
Mhm.
But here's the thing. I'm doing a very similar thing actually with Keza. I'm doing just Oblivion or Hope. And Oblivion has like Vengeful Blade and Infernal Challenge and stuff like that, while Hope has like Cure Wounds, Dancing Lights, etc. Like that actually makes it very unique because they're two different themes, they're two different personalities, they're two different ways of viewing the same thing. This is the same thing because the sewing personality is probably going to be different than the growing or reaping personality because the spells are different and the effects are different.
Well, I don't think they have it worded where it changes your personality. It's more like it's a different cycle in the way the harvest grows. Now, like you could make a character that does that. I'm just saying it's not written like that
Yeah,
specifically in the
I'm.
book.
Oh no, I'm thinking in terms of like in flavor wise something comparable to the Eladrin,
Exactly. That's where I
where it
was
is
drawing. That's where
where
I
it
was drawing the
is
same conclusion.
yeah, because in the Eladrin it is specifically stated that their personality changes as their seasons change. So you could flavor it to be like an Eladrin, which is fascinating for a cleric because a cleric is usually one note, very simple.
You are correct. And not only that, most of the time the clerics have to play by the rules of the gods they worship or the deity that they're worshiping to gain their powers. This one feels more like druid cleric side, which I think is a great combination of classes we don't normally get, where you don't really have a god you're worshiping a cycle of life, kind of like what happens with the druids
Yeah.
themselves, but this also gets you spells that you wouldn't normally get. and gives you some really cool options.
Yeah. So go through cornucopia. But the reason why I'm mentioning the change in personality specifically is
Mhm.
for the next one after that, for Bountiful Harvest.
All right, so cornucopia. If you don't have the incapacitated condition when you start a short rest, you can magically create a cornucopia filled with enough food or if a number of creatures equal to twice your proficiency bonus. When a creature that eats the food finishes a short rest, you can distribute a number of d4s equal to your cleric level among creatures who ate the food. Each creature immediately rolls the dice that are allowed and regains hit points equal to the total. The cornucopia and any uneaten food vanish when the short rest ends. Okay, so I think this is the way they're wording this. It basically means um,
If
free
if
heals
you
on
have
short
if you
rest.
have
Mhm.
and also if you have a cleric of the harvest domain, you literally always have food
Which
because
I yeah.
unlike Goodberry, it has no condition other than have to be not incapacitated.
Well, funny thing you mentioned that because if you are the sewing side, you get good berry prepared. So
Yeah, but I just find it funny that you're like, you have to make sure you have a leaf, you know, and then the
Hmm.
cleric just goes, "Fuck you, God."
well, pretty much because they don't need any material component for this. I think that's kind of good. Now you can distribute a number of d4s equal to your cleric level among creatures who ate the food. This one is wording is a little bit odd, but basically what they're saying is that let's say you are a level 4 cleric and you had 3 people eat the food. Theoretically speaking, everyone would get 1d4 of healing on top of the short rest heals, and then one other person would get an additional d4, if I'm reading that right. And I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah,
Yeah. So which is good, and this is on a short rest too.
yeah. So it's once you use this feature, you can't use it again till you get a long rest. So it's obviously you're not pulling food out of your ass forever. But
No, this reminds me of Song of Rest that the bard gets, which basically gives them a free short rest. Um,
but
which
also but
yeah.
also this allows you to be like, hey, if you're playing a survival D&D campaign, which obviously for a horror campaign would fit right the fuck
Hmm.
in. If you have a cleric of the harvest domain, you're like, we need to take a short rest. We need to eat.
And this one would guarantee that you're safe. Okay, I like this ability. I like this cleric, by the way. I like the rotating spell domain. I like the cornucopia ability. The community almanac is whatever. Like, feels like every one of these classes has a bonus to a proficiency ability, which is fine. They're not breaking.
Yeah,
They're not bad. They're just whatever. I just don't take them into consideration when I'm rating a class because, oh, having
yeah,
proficiency in nature or survival will break this class for me. No. But Bountiful Harvest.
yeah.
Okay, so this is Channel Divinity.
It's a nice to have.
Right. So I'm gonna let you do Bountiful Harvest because you seem to know what this ability is better on. So go ahead and take care of it.
So okay, so as a magic action, you can present your holy symbol and expend a use of your channel divinity to invoke the spirit of the harvest. Up to 6 creatures of your choice within 60 feet gain heroic inspiration.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
A creature must finish a long rest before it can gain heroic inspiration from this feature again, but that's just a free reroll whenever the fuck you want.
Wow.
Additionally, you grant all targets one of the following benefits. If your current harvest aspect is a different one, it changes to match the choice. Sewing. A target gains a number of temporary hit points equal to your proficiency plus wisdom modifier, growing until the end of your next turn. When a target makes an ability attack roll or ability check, it adds 1d4 to the total, so just straight up guidance. And then reaping. A target deals extra necrotic damage equal to your proficiency bonus the first time it damages a creature before the end of your next turn. This is what I mean by a different change in tactics slash personality. Because if you're the sewing one is more about like making sure that they're able to survive the early going. The growing one is basically like in the moment. We're focused on the task. And then the reaping one is finishing the damn job.
Okay, I'm gonna just stop you right there. There's actually a better analogy for this, and I think you're gonna understand exactly what I'm saying when I bring it up. So
Okay. All right.
so before we begin, I'm gonna have to give you a little context. Have you ever played World of Warcraft?
No.
Okay, well that's fine. You don't really need to play it because what I'm saying is that in World of Warcraft, the priest, which is essentially the clerics of that game, they had 3 talent trees. One was holy, one was discipline, and one was shadow. The holy one focused on healing and doing mass healing ability. The discipline was more about buffing and keeping control of the battle going on using disciplinary situations. And the shadow was focusing primarily on dealing damage. Now, I bring that up because that's what's coming up to me when I look at this class. Sowing is meant to be the healing abilities, which, if you look at the sowing abilities, that's what they have, like Lesser Restoration, Harvest Moonglow, Death Ward, and Awaken. All of this is like supportive healing abilities, which is great. And then you look at Growing, which is more like buffs. You get Guidance, Entangle, Summer Winds. Which, by the way, if you don't know the symbol next to this one that looks like a moon, that means it's exclusive to this book, and we'll go over that later. But just keep that in mind. Stuff like Plant Growth, Sanctuary of the Shepherd, Mass Cure Wounds. Controlling the fight, and then maybe doing some mass healing with Mass Cure Wounds. Reaping, Chill Touch, Inflect Wounds, Hold Person, Culling Sickle, Consuming Pyre, Fields of Reaping, damaging abilities. Now, what makes this better is the fact that you don't have to worry about going back and respecking and adding new gear on. You shift between each 3 to provide different abilities at different times, and that's a good thing. I like that it's doing that. But I feel like instead of like shifting personality wise, it's more like sowing to nurture and grow back damaged elements, which is thematically amazing. Growing is cultivating and protecting things and doing your best to maintain it. Reaping is it's time for it to die, which means you have to, but in a way it brings about new harvest. This is probably the most thematically appropriate class I have seen in forever, and I am loving each and every moment of it. And it's just because of this simple 3-phase cycle that they have going on.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
Now,
So let's move on to the blessing of the seasons.
right. You can draw upon the power of the harvest cycle to potentially alter disaster. When a creature you can see within 30 feet of you fails a saving throw of a particular type determined by your current aspect, you can take reaction to allow it to reroll the d20 and use the new roll. Okay, this is the second class in that we've read that gains free rerolls on saving throws at level 3 and level 6 respectively. What is the campaign in this book that means that you have to have so many saving throw rerolls? I need to know now.
Yeah, this is the campaign is going to bust your balls probably.
The type of saving throws can affect GR as follows. If you're in your sowing phase, it's Dex and Charisma. If you're in your growing phase, it's Constitution and Intelligence. And if you're in your reaping phase, it's Wisdom and Strength. Additionally, after the saving throw succeeds or fails, roll a number of d4s equal to your proficiency bonus. The target regains hit points equal to the total roll. So you get a free heal on top of that without expending a spell slot. You use this feature a number of times.
Also,
You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier and regain all expenditures when you finish a long rest.
okay, can I just say this?
Go right ahead.
So basically, especially with the low level spells,
Mm-hmm.
you could essentially get that heal in the way so that they take absolutely no damage.
Right. Now, I will say this. I think it's kind of interesting that they have each saving throw has its purpose when it pops up, obviously. But if you notice that they have like 2 very different saving throws on each one, you have Dex and Charisma,
Yeah.
which typically would mean that protects stuff like the Rogue and the Bard, or the
The smaller
Wizard.
stuff that
Mhm.
the smaller stuff that needs to use their words and flight like small little sprouts. The growing is the constitution and intelligence like a fighter or barbarian that uses that's strong, but they aren't necessarily wise. And then the reaping one is for the wisdom and strength. It's for the strong. It's for the old man grandpa strength ones who are also wise as well, but also near the end of their cycle.
Now, admittedly, I do say this: you can't swap on this on the fly, which means that you will not always be able to activate this ability in like a big fight, which is a caveat that does need to be addressed. Not a bad one. It needs to have that balancing act because otherwise this would be fucking broken. Because you could swap between all 3 forms and then use a saving throw reroll and then a heal on top of that. What I do, however, need to point out is that this kind of proves that your most important stat has to be your wisdom modifier. Because I would say this at level 6, if you had a +5 to wisdom, and I'm saying like this is best case scenario, you can use 5 of these things to get 5 free heals on top of the spell slots that you have, and wisdom would probably be your spell's casting ability as well.
Yeah. Like, I will say this, I'm very, very happy with this.
I am
I
too.
I think that I think that this has enough. How do I say this? I think this has enough uh backstops
Mhm.
that where you need to take advantage of it, if that makes sense.
Yes, but what I do like is that it feels like you're playing 3 clerics in one. You got the
Yeah.
holy cleric, you've got the buffing cleric, and then you have the necrotic cleric or the necromancy cleric or the death domain cleric would probably be the best example. And I think that's actually pretty good. Now you can't obviously be all 3 of them at once, but there are a lot of fights where you need one or the other, and this basically gives you 3 additional party members without needing to have prep time. Can't argue
Yeah.
with that.
So let's move on to the last one.
Okay, time for the keystone ability. Eternal Wheel. Okay, so first off, this is the highest level keystone ability I think we've seen in a long time at 17, which means guys, don't base your class on this ability. Don't. And actually, I like the fact that it stops around level 6 and you've still got a lot of goodies around that level. So, let's see
You
what this one
basically get
does.
everything.
Mhm.
17 is for either a high level campaign or the DM that goes, I'm gonna go 1 to 20.
All right, so let's see what happens. When you use your bountiful harvest, you can invoke the endless cycle of life, death, and rebirth to grant yourself and the creatures affected by your channel divinity an additional benefit based on your current aspect. Sowing. Target gains the effect of regeneration for 1 minute or until you lose concentration. A creature you touch gains 4d8 hit plus 15 hit points. For the duration, they remain at 1 hit point at the start of each of its turn, and any severed body parts regrow after 2 minutes. Okay. Wow.
So, just really quickly,
Mhm,
the way that I would rule this, and this comes back to the very end of it where it says once you use this feature, you have to expend a level 7 spell slot to use it again.
mhm.
If it's for any lost limbs, I would say with the regenerate ability, especially because it's a full core realm or just normal realms in general, I would say that you get a functional half limb. You can't use it until you use regenerate the second time, but it is essentially just the bones and whatnot, and it is a limb technically.
Well, it is still giving. By the way, this is something to point out: is that this gives it to everyone who's affected by your channel divinity, which means 6 people could get regeneration for a minute. But that's
Oh
not.
yeah.
But I'm going to say this right now: growing has to be the one that's a little bit more broken. Targets
Oh yeah.
gain advantage on saving throws and ability checks for up to 1 hour or until you lose concentration. Okay, what this essentially is saying is that for 1 hour after using your ability, you're basically guaranteed that you are going to be giving everyone mass mass advantage on saving throws, and it's non-generic. I mean, it's non-specific saving throws too. That means that it's basically means that everyone is going to be able to have advantage on anything that happens. Dex saving throws for fireballs, stuff like charisma saving throws for abilities that target the mind, Constitution saving throws for poison. This is for an hour. And the best part is that it stacks up based on using your channel divinity ability.
Yeah, like it is insane. And then reaping targets gain resistance to necrotic, psychic, and poison damage for 1 hour. I'm going to say this:
Mhm.
it's not the overall game changer that growing is, but if you're going into an area that you know has necrotic, psychic, or poison, that resistance is going to save your ass.
Right. And again, that's party planning you have to make for that. And you are planning with your cleric's ability. I like this. All this is good, but and I hate to be, the devil's advocate because you know how I usually get when we talk about keystone abilities. I like this. This is not a 17th level ability.
I think it is. I'm going to argue that it is because of the amount of power that you get from it. You get you get the choice of all three. any one of those individually is not a level 17 ability. All three combined is.
Well, here's my argument for that, okay? The reason I don't think this is a level 17 ability is just how you phrased it. But remember, you can't swap your aspect unless you finish a short or long rest, which means you don't know what the DM is planning. You don't know if sewing is going to be the better, because you're locking yourself into not only that ability, but you're also locking yourself into your domain spells. Are these going to help in the fight coming up? Is it better to sacrifice that damage ability from reaping to be growing just because you give everyone advantage on saving throws? Remember, you cannot plan ahead that far ahead for a big boss fight because you don't know what the DM has planned. And on top of that, growing is the most broken one, but growing also is typically the one that has the least universal spells in its ability. I mean, obviously you have mass cure wounds, which is fantastic, and we would need to look at what Sanctum of the Shepherd does because it's a new spell. But plant growth, entangle, guidance, summer winds, like
I would say that that's kind of the risk reward that you get with this class. You don't get everything at once, just like how you don't get everything at once with
ex-
growing a plant.
exactly, and that's why I like it. But I don't feel like you need to be level 17 to get this ability. I think you could put this down to level 15, give it 2 levels lower, and you would still be fine. It would be still a great ability because you still have to have that swapping aspect. You're not being able to channel all 3 of them at the same time. You're still having to pick which one you're going into. So, I don't know, maybe just make the capstone 2 levels lower at level 15. It's still a massive it's still a massive level gap to get to that last ability. But I don't think around 17 you would need to have to worry about giving advantage on things or but regeneration's a broken ability, don't get me wrong. And on top of that, you
Yeah.
also have to and also you can only use it once per long rest unless you expend a spell slot of level 7. I would say this: if you take away the expanding the spell slot ability, you could drop it down to 15 and just use it once per long rest. And then at level 17, give it the ability to regenerate by expending a level 7 spell slot. I feel like that would be the safest bet, because then you get 2 levels of it early. It still has that ability you can use multiple times at level 17 by burning a 7th level spell slot. Would you use your 7th level spell slot for this? I don't think so, because that's around the same time you would go with like spells like Meteor Swarm. It's debatable. It's debatable. Me
Mhm.
personally, I just feel like because the fact that it's a great ability, I don't think it's a bad one. It offers a lot of versatility, just not 17th level type. That's all I'm saying in that regard.
Fair enough. Anyways, I think that's where we're gonna have to call it for right now.
Yeah, we do. But next week we're gonna be tackling the Druid, and by the way, I really want to talk about the Wicker Druid when we next week because that's gonna be fun. Oh, I
Fair
love,
enough.
and we still, and we've, I think we barely scratched the surface of this book. We still got
Oh,
Yeah, we still got spells, the artifact system, and a bunch of other stuff to go through.
oh yeah. But that'll be all for now, folks. So,
hmm
yeah.
And from the bottom of
Join us
our
next week.
Yes, and from the bottom of my heart, I'm glad we're back doing FTT. We'll be back next week to tackle more classes in the book and to give our honest thoughts, and then, well, we're just gonna have to see what happens because we got a lot of book left and we got a lot to cover. We're probably gonna be covering this for a good while, folks. So strap in, get some popcorn. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please watch the rest of our series on our playlist. We have every episode available to watch. If you are watching this, we also upload content 3 times a week. We are doing lore plays, talking about the lore of video games and D&D itself, and you can follow us on twitch.tv/GarsonBavel and twitch.tv/ChitterCharmer. And above all else, we also stream D&D on Sundays, so look forward to clips and highlights from that moment as well. All right, I think that's everything I had to say. Jenny, you have anything you wanted to add?
Nope, I'm good. I'm gonna need to bounce though, because I got, ironically, D&D in 2 minutes.
All right, you head on out. All right, folks, that's it for us. Take care and good night.